Do you see a participants button at the bottom of your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You press that. When you press that, what do you see?
It says raise hand, yes, no, go
Perfect.
slower, go faster. And
Perfect. And then there should be one that says more, and it has like three little dots in a circle. You see that?
it got a cup. It got a
Perfect. So the
some
cup, I think, means take a break, and then there's
clock.
something that means,
Clock
I think
means
it's a clock,
away.
means away. Like I need to run to the bathroom, I need to go somewhere, I'll be right back. I'm saying if you don't want to verbally say something when you need to step away from the computer, you can utilize those options. But what I'd rather have happen is that I'm aware that you're not sitting in front of your screen than keep repeating your name. Because remember, I can't see you. All I see is a screen with your name on it. Okay.
So, Ms. Morris, I'm showing what you said right now, since we're recording a class for those to see it.
Uh-huh.
This is the button you're referring to. And then these are the
I can't. I don't see anything, Mr. Cruz. I just see your screensaver, I think.
You don't see it? Oh, okay. So never mind. I thought that it would show.
Okay.
Nah,
I guess
it's
it's not
showing.
showing that
It's
extra
showing
window.
now.
Okay.
Just shows a background with like
showing.
a skyline at night.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. Okay, no. I thought it would show us since it was a window in it, but it didn't.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so we're going to begin today's class. Thank you for coming, guys. Thank you for being on time. So for those of you who handed in day one, it's been graded. If you did not hand it in, you need to get it in. I returned it to you for you to review it so that we can move on. All right.
Good morning, Emmanuel.
Welcome, Emmanuel. Welcome, my
to
brother.
audio. All right, let's begin.
We missed you for the last few days, Emmanuel.
All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So we're moving on into day 2. And for day 2, there's going to be a little bit more of independent work on this part. I think we took time going through things together just so we could get the basics of conflict and its different variations of conflict. Yesterday, we were supposed to complete this portion together where you took an example of a type of conflict from the day before and you stated it here. You stated what type of emotional reaction you get from that particular or got from that particular conflict. And I also reminded folks that you could use your emotion card, which is a list of adjectives that you can utilize. And please don't delete this. Keep this handy because it's going to come in handy later on. Okay. And then I asked you to explain in a few sentences exactly how this particular feeling shaped your reaction. What are the things that made you do or made you think? And then you had to explain if this was something that was considered a correct reaction, an appropriate reaction, or could it be a reaction that should be something else? So we're moving on from that. And now we're moving into the other portion of the form. So it says, identify conflict in nature. Can I have a volunteer read the directions for me, please?
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you, Jesus.
All right, you gotta zoom in a little bit because
Okay.
this thing is tiny.
No problem.
All right, directions. Hold on, how do I move your square? Because okay.
Hold on, my I think I'm
No, yeah, no, your video square is on it. No, that's fine.
Okay.
Directions.
Now?
Read each excerpt and annotate for words, phrases, and images and show conflict. Then label the specific literary conflict from the word box at the bottom.
Thank you. And there are 2 essential categories, right? We have internal, we've got external. They're all listed there. We've talked about them a few times now. Character versus self, which is internal. And external, we have character versus character, character versus society, character versus supernatural, and character versus nature. So you're going to be completing the rest of this assignment where you're going to read the scenarios, okay? And then you're going to identify the type of conflict. Then you're going to move into the exit ticket, which is basically the same activity, but you'll be reading something that's a little bit longer, what we call an excerpt, a chunk from a particular reading. But as always, we're going to do one together, just so we have the gist of what we're doing. For each section that you read, you'll notice there's a name at the bottom right-hand corner. That's where the story or the section is coming from. That's the name of that particular reading piece that you're reading. So the one we're going to try together comes from a book called 1984. The second one comes from a book called The Black Eye of the Month Club. So each one that you read, you'll notice there's a name of a particular reading at the bottom, okay? But the goal for you today is to be able to read on your own and then identify the type of conflict in the box next to you. Now, as Jesus just said, you're going to read each one and annotate for words and phrases and images that show conflict. So in addition to reading, you need to be able to annotate. Now, because there's a restriction in how much you can write in terms of annotation, in this instance, annotation would mean highlight. Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be highlighting the sections that show conflict, and we think we all know how to highlight. Okay, at the top of your screen, you should see something that looks like a highlight pen. You click on that and you pick your color. We've been doing this for a while. So let's read the first section together. May I have a volunteer, please?
Ms. Morris, is there a particular,
Color?
no, but like, should we be highlighting internal versus external?
Oh, that's what you mean. Well, remember, we've already, in my opinion, you have internal, you have external, right?
Right.
And you're going to be having your different types. I think at this point, they should be specific with which type of external or internal. So if they write character versus character, it should be inference that we're talking about external at this point. But I want them to be very specific with which type of example.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So thank you for asking that clarifying question, Ms. Williams. So you're stating whether it's character versus society, and so forth. We're moving past just saying internal or external. So you need to make sure whatever evidence you're highlighting, it supports the type of conflict that you're identifying. Now, there's one point that Ms. Williams is alluding to, and I think that's what she's saying. Sometimes you'll find examples of both, right? Think about, I'm going to use a big word here, preponderance of evidence. It's a big term.
What that mean?
Yes, so that means think about when you weigh the evidence and which one has more. So if there's more of one type of evidence.
Use that my everyday life.
Preponderance of evidence. It's a big term, but it just means wherever you see where there's evidence of more of that particular type of conflict in the reading, that's the one you go with. All right. So even if you see a little bit of another type, the one that carries more weight, you see more examples of it, it comes up more often in the reading, that's the one you stick with. So I think, for example, I think it was Irelise that made a good point. We were talking about COVID-19. And she said that she thinks that's a societal conflict, right? While some others said, no, I think that's more nature. So based on the evidence, based on what you read, depending on how they tell the story about COVID-19, you might decide, okay, if it's a case about, oh, people need to wear their mask, we're going to have restrictions on how many people can gather. You have to, do a screening every time you come into the building. It's still based on COVID-19, but because it's about governmental rules and how you're supposed to conduct yourself with COVID-19, that would fall under character versus society. Are you following me so far?
Yes.
So even though we know that COVID-19 is a natural phenomenon, it's a sickness or a virus that has come from somewhere and we didn't create it. Some folks might say, but that's nature. It would be nature depending on how it's portrayed. So if it was a case of, oh, they tell you about the disease or the virus and the symptoms and how it affects your body and what are some of the ways in which you can treat your body, because it's being told in that format, it would be more of character versus nature, right? They're telling you about that conflict of the virus and what you got to do to beat it. While at the same time, if someone tells another version or another perspective of COVID-19 and they talk about what they went through with COVID-19, right? How it affected their emotional state, how it made them worry, or they were more aware of their surroundings or things of that nature. Now it shifts to even another type of conflict. Do we know what that one would be? What would that one be? Anybody can guess? No guesses?
Talking about your emotions and how you feel.
Can you repeat that, Ajivatu? Couldn't hear you. Okay, there's something wrong with your mic, but I think you're saying, are you saying character versus self?
Yes.
Yes, right? So again, COVID-19 is a topic that could follow any of those three characteristics when it comes to a type of conflict, but it's how the evidence is portrayed that will, decide how you identify it. So that's what we want to do. When we read each excerpt, we want to be able to look at the preponderance of evidence, Jesus, the weighing of the evidence to see which one has more of a particular type of feature when it comes to a type of conflict, and that'll give you your answer. All right, so let's begin. Any sound that Winston made, and this is from the 1984 book, any sound that Winston made above the level of a very low whisper would be picked up by the telescreen. Moreover, again, those transition words, guys, that means there's more information coming. So long as he remained within the field of vision, which the metal plaque commanded, he could be seen as well as heard. How often or on what system the thought police plugged in on any individual wire was guesswork. And you notice that thought police is in capital letters. So that means we're talking about a particular team or force or group. It's not just any old police, it's a type of team that has a special name. It was even conceivable that they watched everybody all the time. You had to did live from habitat that became from habit that became instinct in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, every movement scrutinized. And I'm going to do a second reading. And again, it seems like it's coming from a third person reader, an author who's telling you what Winston is going through. But again, you're trying to figure out what type of conflict is Winston going through. Is it a self conflict? Is it something outside, which is society, another character, supernatural somethings, or nature? I'll read it again. Any sound that Winston made above the level of a very low whisper would be picked up by the telescreen. Moreover, so long as he remained within the field of vision, which the metal plaque commanded, he could be seen as well as heard. How often or on what system the thought police plugged in on any individual wire was guesswork. It was even conceivable that they watched everybody all the time. You had to did live, from habit that became instinct, in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, every moment scrutinized. So what good readers do is they usually try to summarize what they just read, right? They try to get the main idea of what they just read, and then that will help you figure out what type of conflict. So let me see. Ajifatu, what do you think this particular reading is talking about? What do you think Winston is going through in this particular reading?
I think he's going some kind of struggle in the place where he's at.
Okay, so you said he's going through some type of struggle, right? But I can't hear you properly.
Put it in the chat.
Okay, I won't be able to see, so somebody has to tell me. While Andrew Fati is putting in the chat, I'm going to move on to another student. Who else is there? I know that Matthew and Jesus are there. Is there anyone else there?
Emmanuel.
Oh, good morning, Emmanuel. I forgot about Emmanuel. Emmanuel, how are you? Emmanuel, are you there? Can you hear me?
Good morning, man.
Good morning, Emmanuel. Good to hear your voice. So now that I've buttered you up, I'm going to be asking you to tell me what you think this particular reading that I just did is about. What do you think it's talking about?
Is that character versus society?
Okay, character versus society. That is correct. But how do you know it's character versus society? What type of evidence or what was going on in this reading that let you know that it's character versus society?
The word police.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. Anything else?
mm,
What do you think is happening here? What do you think the police are doing to people? What do we notice they're doing to people? What's making people
I
feel
didn't
uncomfortable?
really understand.
Okay,
Mm,
can I answer?
sure.
All right.
But Emmanuel, you did a good job. You actually have the correct type. So you're
Right.
on to something, right? So Jesus, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm thinking like when it says a moral verse, so as long as he remained within the field of vision. So I'm thinking that in this story or in this
Uh-huh.
scene,
Excerpt.
sounds like a scene. Like it sounds like something that's happening or
Yes.
has been happening. So
Okay.
these people have very limited privacy.
Very good. That's what it is.
Excuse me, Miss
And
Very
Morris.
limited privacy.
everything they do and say is being monitored. So and he's
Exactly.
saying that even if you make anything above a whisper, that they'll hear you. So that's why,
Very good. And they're watching you too, right?
right,
There is
right.
something about, if you move outside of a particular area, which is forbidden, they'll pick you up. So you have to make sure you're always seen, you're always heard. The thought police are monitoring everything you do and say. So both you and Emmanuel are correct. And that's why the type of conflict is going to be character versus.
Right. So Ajifatu put, I think he's going through some kind of struggle in the place that he's at because the police are against him.
Okay. Well, now we know that the police are not just against him. The police are against who?
Everyone.
Everyone. And remember, it's a perspective of the people. So even though we use the word against, we're saying they're against them because that's how people feel. They feel like if I constantly have to be watched and listened to, I don't feel comfortable, right? So you have to be able to specify that. You have to be able to make that specific as what you mean by against, because some people might think against is when they beat them up or they arrest them, right? They haven't done that yet. So some people might say, but that doesn't mean they're against you because they're watching everything. It could be for your safety. It could be because something happened. But based on the tone of this excerpt, we can tell that nobody likes it. And I believe that because you guys can relate, you don't want to be watched and listened to every time, correct? Not every minute of the day, am I right? You
Facts.
feel, right? You feel like you're in jail or something. You want to be able to have a little bit of privacy and freedom. So we all agree that the first excerpt identifies character versus society based on the preponderance of evidence. Okay. And that is why, guys, I told you that I want you to move beyond just saying external and internal. I want you to be specific with the type of conflict that you see when you read. So for the rest of the period, and I know we won't be finished, I'm giving
Miss
you guys.
Morris, I don't think you assigned this yet.
Oh, it's not coming up,
Yeah, it's not because I'm looking at a D2 of Unit
and
2.
it's not there. Okay, no worries. I'll fix it.
All
Give
right.
me 2 minutes. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the rest of them. I figure based on the time, and I give you guys till 9:10. Hopefully you can get through the next 3 excerpts. You probably won't get to the exit ticket, but you should be able to get through the next 3 readings, okay? So everybody should try to get to the Black Eye of the Month Club, Little Things Are Big, and Fences. And then we'll try to share out what we have. So let me stop sharing my screen.
Hermione joined while you were
Yes, I saw that. I had admitted her. Good morning, Hermione. I'm assuming we might need to explain to her what we're working on. But let me just get this up. So I think what happened is the dates that I set these for, we're moving a little bit faster than expected, which is fine.
I am looking at Jesus's number day 2. It is there and it is active.
It is? Oh, okay.
Yes, because we started it yesterday, so I just looked at his.
All right. So then why is he saying he can't?
Oh, that's the one we did yesterday.